Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Proper Madness, formerly Beautifully Broken. My name is Savvy, and I give a unique perspective on mental health by providing tools, guidance, and knowledge on how we can better understand ourselves, as well as our past and present experiences, and in doing so, we can help heal our mental health. I get to speak with a variety of individuals from around the world as they share their stories from their journey through their mental wellness so that it helps others stand strong and use their voice. Welcome back, everyone, to Proper Madness. On today's episode, I have someone who is very near and dear to my heart. I used to watch her on The Voice UK, and I reached out to see if she wanted to do an episode on Proper Madness, and here she is. Her name is Truly Ford, and she's an amazing singer, and she does a lot of covers on YouTube, and a couple originals that I have heard as well. So, yeah.
Hello, nice to meet you and see you face to face over
I
this. Yeah, so I'm Trudy Ford. I do sing songs. I write lots of songs too. And yeah, I'm here to talk about mental health and how it affects me. And
so I think I remember you mentioning some of it on your Instagram page like a long time ago. But how was your journey with mental health growing up, or was it something you discovered later? You know, how did it happen?
when I was growing up, my parents weren't ever together. I did a lot of going back and forth. My mum moved around a lot. So I always felt like I wasn't, not that I wasn't cared about, but my feelings weren't acknowledged. And I did a lot of carrying other people's problems and listening to my mum talk about my dad and my dad talk about my mum. I moved schools a lot, and every year I'd try and make new friends. And then when I was pulled out of that school to move again, no one ever stopped and said, "Oh, Trudy, how are you feeling about this?" Like, it was just Trudy, we fine. She's a kid. She doesn't have feelings. And I always felt like I just had to keep myself together, and I never talked about my own feelings. I just got on with life, and I didn't realize that it was okay to admit that or talk about your own feelings. I just wasn't born or grown. I didn't grow up in that kind of household. But the funniest thing, I'll jump like to the future now, is my mom, when I was a kid, attempted suicide many times and was hospitalized, but it was kept a secret from the children because it was just like, she was so ashamed of it. So it's really interesting actually learning that as an adult and realizing that actually my mom was really suffering. It's not funny, but anyway, go back to when I was a kid. So that's how I kind of started my journey with mental health. I just kept it all to myself. And that's actually what started the songwriting. So I started writing songs when I was about 9 or 10. And it was just really dark poems and small like lyrics and choruses here and there. And I've actually still got some of the books, and the lyrics in them are so dark. And I just can't believe that I was only 10 years old when I wrote them. But it just makes sense. It was like my only outlet that I ever had. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's pretty sad. And then as I got older and older, music just took over, and I was kind of selfish in that way, like most young people are. You just focus on yourself, and I started doing shows. I started writing with loads of different people and trying to travel and trying to make this career happen. All the while, my own mind was playing riot. So I was having lots of like manic episodes, which I know what they are now, but I didn't know then. So I was quite reckless. I was doing a lot of kind of crazy things that probably weren't good for my health well-being. And I was drinking a lot, smoking a lot, doing drugs. I was drinking almost every day, and I think people call that self-medicating. And I used to just take on far too much. I noticed that, well, looking back, is I would take so many things on because I felt like I'd had to kind of please everyone and please myself. And I thought that I had too high expectations, try to be perfect, all of that kind of stuff. And the year I applied for The Voice, I also applied to do a degree, and I moved to London on my own. So I did 3 massive things in the space of a few months. And I didn't expect to go on The Voice. I didn't expect to get as far as I did. I didn't expect to get into my university, but I did. So I literally did my first year of my degree and The Voice at the same time.
Oh man.
And I
Jeez.
just managed to do it all. I did all my coursework in 2 weeks. I didn't sleep hardly at all, hardly ate, just got it done. And I did the TV show, and like straight after, I had this massive high. I was just so euphoric, cloud nine. I went to LA. I was like spending all this money. I was like so like just so high and just so, I felt like I'd made it, but I hadn't. And it literally was like a few months after I just came crashing back down to the earth. And I was very suicidal, very it was like someone had just pushed the stop on my life. I was driving in the car and someone just like handbrake turn. Basically my older brother, he has bipolar, and for years before The Voice, during The Voice, after The Voice, it was just getting more and more obvious that I had bipolar as well. And he kind of had an intervention with me during The Voice, and he kind of came down to London, pulled me out of what I was doing and just sat me down. He was like, you need to get help. I know you're doing this right now, and it's really important to you, but you're gonna lose years of your life if you don't acknowledge this right now. Because he'd gone through the same thing. He moved to California when he was 19, joined the Marines, got married, and he ignored it as well. Like he was put it down to PTSD from being in the Marines and anxiety and everything. And then he finally got diagnosed like 3 years later, and then he literally lost years of his life because it took him so long to get well again. So he had this intervention with me probably in the February of 2017, and then it wasn't till December, so that whole 10 months where I was just like, no, I'm fine, I'll do this, I'll be cool, just because that's what I've always done. I've always drinking to try and cope. Like I started drinking when I was 14, like I was really young. I got suspended from school for being drunk in school. Like I was always like that. Can I just say also, I've been sober for 2 years, so I'm good now. But yeah, it literally took me 10 months to finally go to the doctors. And it was my mum, basically. She kind of grabbed me one day and she said, Truly, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to live? Do you want to live a life and grow old? And I was like, yeah. And she said, you need to go get help. You need to go to that doctor and say, I'm not well. And I was like, okay. And then about a week later, when I was very suicidal and very low and very like, just, that feeling of despair, like you're going to come back from this, I finally went, and I literally was referred, and we have the NHS in the UK, so it's just amazing. And within a week I was diagnosed and straight on meds. Straight on to, it was so obvious to them. They were like, yeah, you should have come to us a long time ago. So I have bipolar, and it all kind of, I remember that day so like it was yesterday. I was sat there and like in this room with 2 doctors, and they were talking to me, and then they sent me out for a little bit, and then I came back in. I was probably there for about 4 hours. And when I came back in, the sun just suddenly shone in the room, like and you feel it in your arm and through the window, it's really warm. And then they said, yes, so you do have bipolar. And it was so weird because I felt this warmth and this like homeliness as they delivered those words, and it was almost like, yeah, I know. Thanks. And it was just that they confirmed something that I already knew, and it was a moment of fuck, I've let myself down. I can't believe I'm a failure. I've actually got a real disorder of mental illness. But then the other part of me was like, that all makes sense. That's not me. It's like this other part of me that is in control sometimes. So it was a kind of yin and yang. It was two things that made sense. And then it was really hard to accept in the other instance. And then straight after that, I had this like prescription, and I went to the pharmacy and I was picking up these new medications. I didn't really know much about it. And then I remember like getting home, I actually wrote in my like songbook these lyrics like, I can't believe I'm going to start taking this medication today. like it just happened so quickly.
Yeah.
I was like on my way, I was just, do you know what I mean, like going on for
Yeah.
years and years and years. And I think I had bipolar when I was a kid. I think it was like a gene that's in our family, and it was just brought out by this wild childhood that I had. So yeah, it went from being to this sudden like, oh, okay, I'm an ill person now for the rest of my life. It's like being told you've got diabetes and you've got to treat yourself every single day. But the medication it's a weird one. I've actually recently tried to come off of my medication. I lasted about 2 months, and then I had an episode, which was literally this in March this year. It's crazy, really recently. But for a long time, I was quite happy and quite stable. Because for me, it's like I really want to be well. I want to be stable. I'm married now. I have a husband.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I got married in 2019. So 2 years after I was diagnosed, I got married. So it was almost like
so much happened at once.
I have to like think about it sometimes, because I talk to people who are maybe the same age or a little bit older, and they say like, you've done all of that and you're only 27 now. It's like, I think maybe I'm learning now to like reflect on what I have done, because I think I was just in a blur for so long. Whereas I've been like maybe holding myself together for so long, just trying to keep going. Whereas now I'm like, I can actually relax and just live like a normal person. Whatever normal is.
There's no such thing as normal, you know.
There's no such thing as normal.
No, I think we each have our own different types of normal that's relative to us. But like normal is like, you don't want to be normal, then that's boring, and then you don't have any substance. Actually, one of my friends from the UK, she was telling me, she goes, Sabby, she goes, the people who haven't been through any adversity in life are maybe the most boring people to talk to. And I go, you're right, because they don't like you can't relate to them, like you can't have a deep conversation. But anyways, it sounds like you went through so many different things at once, and it was just a total like the time just flew by. What made your bipolar episode happen recently, if you feel like talking about it? Does anything trigger you, or is it just kind of, I don't know a lot about bipolar.
Shall I give a little synopsis? So bipolar is a mood disorder. So obviously there's not going to be a visual for the guys listening, or the women, or the people, they she
all of the people.
So basically you have like the middle ground. If you look at a graph, I'm gonna say the word normal again. So we have baseline is no emotion, nothing. So then everyone has like a slight wave up and down. That's a normal. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm sad, normal, la la la. People with bipolar, they'll have like a happy, which is a really, really like long high, like way higher than normal. And then the lows will be very, very low. And there's different types. Obviously, with a lot of these things, people have different versions or different kind of parts of it. But I'm mainly high. So I will basically go from being not normal, and then I'll just start kind of not being able to sit still, like jittering. My blood pressure will go really high. That's like a physical example of it. But I just can't stop talking. My thoughts go really, really fast. So much so that I can't even speak, like building sentences. Like I'm struggling now. But it's even worse. Like I can't even think of words to say, because my thoughts are just going and going and going. And then I think about things that I think about space, for example, and then I'll think about how small we are, and then that makes me feel really insignificant. And then I just go on and on and on and on and on and on, and I don't stop myself because my brain's just going. So that's one of the things. And then you become you lose sense of reality, and that's when it becomes dangerous. So there's like a hypermanic and manic, and when you get to that higher stage, like for example, I've had it before, and looking back before I was diagnosed and I was just living in London and stuff, I remember this one time I was really drunk and I thought I could fly, and I thought I could jump. And I remember like thinking now, because in London there's a place called Trafalgar Square, and there are these big lions, and I thought I could like jump really
from
high.
Trafalgar Square. You're going, here we go. I'm gonna fly.
That's honestly, I believed it. And there's a picture of me on top of one of these lions. And in my head, I jumped up there. But in truth, climbed up one of my friends to get up onto there. But you just kind of really lose sense of reality. You're just very, very energetic, very just, you feel euphoric, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people become very promiscuous. They think they can get away with things at work. They say things that they don't really mean, or is not out of character. So there's the hypermanic, and then there's the lower, which can be very feeling very depressed, very dark thoughts, very sudden suicide, unfortunately. And there's actually quite a lot of people with bipolar often end their life with suicide because they don't seek the help, or they don't feel like they can get the help, because when you're really high, you enjoy it. It's a really nice feeling. You feel amazing. So it's quite hard to be like, no. You kind of, if anyone wants to help you, you're like, I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'm good. And if you're really low, sometimes it's just a very sudden drop in your mood. So that's kind of what bipolar is. I've really waffled on there, haven't I? But it's just
it makes perfect sense, actually, because I didn't know. There was a point where I thought, mistakenly, I thought I might had been bipolar because my moods were just very high and then super low. But then I found out that I had PTSD, and it was a completely different thing. But the way you explain it makes sense, because there are cyclical, like, ups and downs. Like, you're never gonna be just perfect ever, always. But the way you explained it, really, really, I can, like, envision it. And that must be difficult, like, really difficult. Like, how does writing music help? How did it help you, or how has it helped you kind of pull you out of that? And has it helped you heal from anything, like, specifically? Or
I feel like I'm still healing. I feel like I haven't addressed a lot of things. But in terms of music, like I said, I started writing songs when I was 10. It's always been my outlet. It's always been the safe place where I can literally say whatever I'm feeling, as dark as that is, or as crazy as it sounds. If I'm really manic and I'm thinking crazy thoughts, sometimes the best ideas come from those places, though. They say people with bipolar are very creative, and I get that, because our minds just think differently. Because my brother has bipolar, and we and him are on this wavelength, and we get each other, and it's kind of nice to have someone in your life like that. But it's always just been my outlet. It's like a diary entry almost. But I tried to keep all my lyric books, because it is interesting looking back. It's like looking at old photographs and just seeing a little snippet of your life. But it's a whole thing. Like, so I think, aside from having a mental illness, I feel like it's a personal development thing, because I feel like musically, in a career way, I've been on this huge journey, which has been mirrored by the bipolar. Because when I first started, when I was about 15, 16, gigging and stuff, I was just a young kid just having fun. And then it got real, because I got signed to this indie label. It was a very small label. But I released an EP with them, which I've now taken down, so that you can't find it. But I wrote these songs when I was younger, and I actually really like them still, but they're just very young. And I went into it, and I released this music, and I was gigging, and I was doing all these things, and then I went into trying to work with all these different producers and kind of travel around trying to find people to work with, and didn't know who I was when I was doing that. And I think that's the thing I know now, because back, Olivia Rodrigo, the released that album. I was listening to her today. I think she's 17, 18, and I just think, wow, how can she know who she is at that age and be so incredibly talented, and just carry all of the weight of that sudden fame? Because if that had happened to me, I don't think I would be here, as crazy as that sounds, or as dark as it sounds. I really don't think I'd be here, because I couldn't carry that responsibility. So even at the time when I was around her age, all I wanted was to be famous, which I don't want now. All I wanted to do was be a successful musician, and I'm glad that it's taken a lot longer than I previously wanted, because you know, having a mental illness and trying to keep well and stabilize that is more important. I see that now. But then like going on The Voice and fast tracking that, it kind of fast tracked me getting diagnosed as well. So it kind of, they both went alongside each other, very parallel. And then now it's been 4 years since the TV show, and it's been 4 years of me growing up, realizing who I am, doing a lot of self-development, reevaluating my priorities in life. And now I feel like a person who knows what I want to say. And I think that's the key thing with being a musician. I'm able to like focus my thoughts, my writing, all the skills that I've learned. And I feel ready to put music out finally to the world, which I'm really grateful for. It's taken me a lot longer. And I think that's the thing to point out, is that people with a mental illness, they need more time, because it takes them a lot longer to, because the thing is, like, for example, I could be signed to a major label, given, like, you got 6 months, go write an album. Within that 6 months, I'm going to have 2 episodes, which I'm not going to be able to focus or work. So those kind of deadlines and pressures, there we go, words, during medication. That's the other thing, is like interviews and things like that. I just can't think of words because my medication is so strong.
Oh shit, that sucks though, because I can imagine how like your brain's just like, oh god, like it's just gonna fall out your butt, and you're going, I can't come up with a word, so you just make hand movements, and you hope the person understands what you're trying to say. It doesn't work. You're like, this, I don't know the things.
What I'm saying. And the podcast is not helpful because no one could see me.
Right? So, well, I mean, yeah, we can use the video if you want, but
please don't. No one needs to see me.
Oh, I look very tired, and I've just come from the gym, so I'm like,
I'm actually really impressed that you've been to the gym already today. You're doing well.
I think I have to. It keeps me sane. I've been having like a down day, or a down couple days, and but it's funny you say that, because that's actually what I was thinking, is with any sort of, when you're in the realm of like, be it music or pocket, whatever, like the creative platforms, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to always be on, always be creating, always be taking your next steps towards something that's major and big or groundbreaking. And it's hard when you suffer from a mental illness, and it does take you longer. And I feel like that's a huge stigma that no one talks about. I think we assume that everyone should just be fine. Like if someone told me, hey, Sabby, you have 6 months to write a book, I'd look at them and be like, you're mental. I'm like, I'm gonna have a week where I'm just depressed on my mind and I don't believe in myself. So I'm not gonna like, what am I gonna write? Like, today the clouds are black and so is my soul. Like, I just don't.
I mean, that was great. I love that. I relate to that.
Yeah, so but yeah, you're right. Yeah, timing is a funny thing. I think people think you should do certain things at certain times. It's all relative. I think it's amazing that you decide to just take your own time and work on yourself. And then with that comes like your music and everything. And I like the parallel of your journey with bipolar and healing and everything. And it's kind of funny how life works that way, to be honest. We don't even realize it till later.
I know it. I was literally saying it to my husband yesterday. Like, you don't realize at the time how perfect it is. Mm-hmm. Like when you're in something, it feels horrible or painful or even like joyous and happy. And like looking back is only when you realize like how serendipitous it all was. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so incredible. And I will say it hasn't been easy. Like the whole thing about time. Like there were so many moments over the past few years where I've just been like, what am I doing? Why am I'm not doing anything? Because I've gone from this person who just does so much. But it's not easy. I'll admit that, but it is really important to like take control of yourself. And because I think that's a whole thing with like social media is everyone has so much of each other. It's so do you know what I mean? Everyone is so exposed, and I think when you have if you have an account, like my account on Instagram is verified, which I think is hilarious. I feel like such an imposter because I haven't posted anything in months. And people message me all the time, like, how did you get verified? I'm like, I have no idea. You're not the person to be asking.
You're like, it just happened. I don't know.
It just happened. But there are people that, but I think they're, what are they called? Influencers. They, they're constantly posting and, you're it's in tough. Their lives. Everything about them, but they must have those times where they're just like, oh my god, this is enough, and then they want to take a day off looking at social media, and then everyone's probably messaging them going, where are you? I think that must be really hard. Like, I don't think I could cope with that. I think
I have to switch off. Like today I took a mental health day just from work, like my full-time job, and I was like, I need to take a mental health day where I just sort through some stuff, and I was gonna just completely go dark from my social media today, but then there's just so many things to take care of that I was like, I can't. So but I don't show my life. Like I have 2 separate accounts. I have a more personal one where I post stuff about my family and my dogs and my life and whatever. How I'm going to change my hair next, who knows? But I keep it so separate because I don't know. I'm a very private person, and I don't know how influencers or people who are in the fame spotlight deal with that. To have your whole life just out there, and the pressure to feel like you need to explain yourself all the time.
When I did The Voice, I was like, it was basically a month of insight into famous people's lives. It was like 40 days, I would say, of the live shows, and I didn't have one day off. And then there was this one afternoon, actually they moved us all into these apartments, so we were all together. They just shipped us from there to the studios, back to the it was literally that for 4 weeks, 40 days, however long it was. And there was this one afternoon, they said, okay, you guys can go back to the apartments. You're going to rest for the rest of the day and then back tomorrow. And everyone was like, thank God, I'm so tired. Let's have a break. And then we got back to the apartments, and so the show was sponsored by Nivea, or the skincare brand. And their team were there to film the contestants using and promoting the stuff. So like they'd set up our bathroom with all their products, and then so we literally got her back to the apartments thinking, cool, we're gonna have a nap, we're gonna relax, let's make some dinner. And then it was like, no, we're in your apartment, we can see where you've been sleeping the last few weeks, and now we're going to film you in your bathroom. And we're just like, I love Nivea, it's what I use every day. And it was so awkward. And the thing is, it's like, I think we were also tired, we just got on with it and everything, it was fine, whatever. And then the next day, the producer of the show, me and her were just sat next to each other. It was my turn to go up and rehearse next, so I was just sat with her. And she said, oh, so how's it been going? How are you doing? And I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I'm having a great time. But I was kind of sad yesterday when I thought we were going to have an evening off. And then the Nivea guys turned up, and she said, oh, you're joking, aren't you? You got this amazing apartment to sleep in. Oh, you're funny. I just sat there like,
oh man,
why did you ask if you didn't care? And then it was my turn to go on to rehearse, and then I was just so flabbergasted by her, like that. I felt really insulted. I was like, I can't believe that she just asked me that, and then she just laughed back in my face, like very sarcastically. It really hurt me. And then I had to go up on stage to sing, and they had this whole thing about timing, and if you messed up your lyrics, you're not going to get another go, you just have to let that time keep going. And it was the music started, I just was like, I don't have any words. It was just gone, like completely gone. And I didn't even start doing the routine of what I was meant to be doing. I just was so caught up with what she had said. I guess that was the bipolar, like, because with bipolar you get triggers. I think you asked me earlier, I'll come on to that. But that trigger, it just suddenly hit me. I was just like completely not there anymore. I was just I was away with the fairies. Completely just not in the zone. And then the guy David Tench, he was like the head of the band, he was lovely, he was like the nicest guy ever. He was like, no, let's give her another chance, this is your first line, there we go, let's try it again. And then I got through it, it was fine. but yeah, that moment of like that 40 days in
Oof.
what it felt like to be famous, all these news articles, and everyone kept saying that me and Gavin Rossdale were together, and that I looked like his daughter, and just talking about different contestants who were sleeping together. And it was like, none of us were like that at all. We were all really nice and got on, and nothing was happening with any of the coaches. It was all very normal, very professional. And then it was just like all these articles, and they were like, well, who's making up this stuff? So it was and then obviously you get off literally as well. So I came off the show, I got kicked off before the final, and
I was so mad. I remember sitting at like watching with my dad. I keep mentioning this man. I remember sitting there watching it, and my dad and I just looked at each other, and we went, "What the fuck just happened?" I'm like, "I don't know, Dad. I'm not watching the rest of the show. I'm done." I don't think I did, actually. I think I just gave up. I was like,
yeah. A few people said that as well, because Max, the guy on my team as well, didn't get through, and I thought he was so good. I was really shocked. Like, if I didn't get through, I was shocked that he didn't get through. But yeah, the day after I came off the show, so we're back at the apartment, a taxi came, picked me up, and that was it. That was like, okay, bye. So you go from this massive TV show, like crazy,
and then it's just gone.
And then you don't hear from them again. Like no psychotherapists or anything like to wipe you down, like you okay? Nothing. Isn't that crazy?
To me, like I can't. I mean, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I can't imagine how taxing that must have been on your mental health. Like how did you stay sane, first of all, with the 40 days? And then I know afterwards probably you ended up getting help anyway, so it kind of just went where we were supposed to go. But geez, like 40 days, I don't know how I would.
The funniest thing is, like at the time, that was what I really wanted. I had this like fire, this burning desire to do music, and I'm like, this opportunity, I need it. And the craziest thing is, I was actually talking to my mum a few weeks ago about this, because I remembered that it happened. So to get on the show, they do actually have you meet with a psychiatrist to just talk to you and see how you're doing, see if you're well enough to go on the show. Yeah. And I remember being drunk at that conversation at ITV Studios, and she obviously picked it up and was like, okay, I'm not sure she's okay. And they reported that back to the team, and then the team said, okay, you need to get your doctor's approval, like a letter from your doctor to say, yeah, you're good to go on the show. So I went to my doctor, and he said, okay, Truly, you need to listen to me now, because only 1 week ago you came to me saying you wanted to die. So now you're telling me that you have this opportunity that's going to save you, and you need to go on the TV show. He was like really struggling to. I was like, I was just thinking back about it the other day, thinking I must have sounded so crazy. Like 1 week, I want to die. The next week, I need to go on this TV show. I'm going to be famous. And I was like completely two ends of the spectrum. And I was thinking about it, like that's how badly I wanted to do it. And I think that's why most of us got through it, because it just felt like this most amazing opportunity that we'd all of us have been wanting for years, because we all had this dream. And that's why you go on those kinds of TV shows. But yeah, it is mad.
Oh man, how do you stay creative for those 40 days? That's tough. Like if your mind can't rest.
Like, I didn't write any music whilst I was on that show. Like I didn't. Wow. I was just focused on learning the songs. And that's the other thing, is like if you get through, they give you a new song that night, and then the next day you're expected to come and sing it without a lyric sheet. Wow. And I did it. Like my singing teacher had this crazy wacky thing. I don't know if it was like a mind over matter thing, but he was like, right, look at the lyrics, sing them through a few times, have a bath, in the morning you're going to know the words. And I was like, all right. I did it. And I don't know if it was like me, like, yeah, I believe him, he knows that it's going to work for me, and I did it.
Like a placebo effect. You're just like, okay. I was gonna ask, what got you into writing just covers on your YouTube channel?
I guess it's two things. It was me feeling like I had to keep putting things out, because suddenly I had this growing following, and people were going, oh, I want to hear you sing. So I had this feeling of like, oh, I need to put stuff out. I need to please everyone else. So it was partly that, but it was also me not feeling ready to actually put my own music out, but it was a way of me expressing myself. And I only did covers of songs that I love, which I think is a good thing. Like I never sold out to all these crazy things, but I do love doing covers, and I love working other songs, like songs that I wish I'd written myself, really. So I like doing covers. But I haven't done a cover now, actually. I was looking at my YouTube the other day. I think it's been 10 months since I released a cover video. And I think that's because of COVID, feeling very unmotivated. And also me kind of psyching myself, getting myself ready to start putting my music out. So I need to start getting on my social media. So I'm just psyching myself up for that, to be honest.
Have you've started writing your own stuff lately?
Yeah, I'm always writing. One of the singles that I want to release is called Colors, and I wrote it 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, so quite recently. It's one of my favorite songs, actually, on my YouTube channel. I released like a video of me just singing.
Yeah, I remember hearing but this was forever. I think it was called Blue Rose.
Yeah, Blue Rose.
That one was damn near brought me to tears. When did you write that one, and what's like the context behind? Can I ask?
Yeah, it's interesting, actually, because I feel like that song was a premonition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a song about losing like the one in my mind. And I wrote it about 6 months before my now husband, he moved to Germany for work, and I moved to central London like on my own. Like I moved there first. I kind of led the change because looking back, I went manic and I was like, I'm gonna move to London, la la la, I'm gonna go on a TV show, I'm gonna do this. So I went to London, and then he moved to Germany, and then we broke up, and it was really sad because like deep down we never stopped loving each other that time we were apart. But this song I wrote like 6 months before that happened, and it was just like a song about losing the one you love. Like I don't know why, and he's in the video, he's the guy playing the guitar in the video.
Oh my god. That's crazy. What the heck? I never would have put like 2 and 2 together.
The craziest thing as well is like the first line is we loved, we parked, but it sounds a bit like we loved, we fought.
That's the way I say it. Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad it sounds like that now. But my local radio station, they played it, and I was like, did they realize I just said fuck on it? Don't think they do.
You're like, I'm just gonna let them have that one.
I'm just gonna let that go. Do you know what, actually, I'll say something, because I wanted to say this earlier, and it was coming back to like mental health, and it's basically education. I wish schools, they had education on mental illness and mental health, really, because having like a disorder like bipolar or schizophrenia or personality disorders is actually quite hard because I got a lot of friends and I go to support groups. I know a lot of people with disorders, and I know a lot of them find it really hard to tell people that they have it because of the way they feel that they're going to be perceived because of like movies and TV shows, and the way that people with mental illnesses are, all their characters are psychopaths, murderers, crazy people. And I think that education would be great because, for me, I remember when I put out on my social medias a few years ago, I just put, guys, I've got bipolar and I don't care what you think. I'm just letting you know because I can't pretend to be well all the time anymore. Like, you just need to accept that. And the amount of people, like the people that were like men with tattoos in their 50s, contacting like a 24-year-old girl on Instagram and just saying yes, like they were coming up to me and contacting me and just saying, I can't believe how brave you are, you've made me feel comfortable. And it just blew my mind of the people I reached out to and people connected with, because I feel like especially their generation, the older generation, they even more so, they were, you know, taught not to even, they're
Say
meant to be normal
anything.
all the time. Because actually, even the other day, like my mother-in-law, she said that she's not been feeling great recently, but she even said, oh, you know, I always just try to be okay and not let anyone know that I'm not doing well. And I just thought that's so sad. That's really, really sad that you feel that you have to be like that, especially around people that love you so much and only want the best for you. And I just felt like I just wish that kids could have this education and just learn about all the things. And, you know, maybe if there was a class that taught you how mindfulness, or how to like make sure you go to sleep, make sure you exercise, or taught you like to do write in your mood journals, just all these things, because that would have helped me so much. I wouldn't have gone through all the abuse I did to my body. I would have hopefully had a bit of a kickstart. So that was one thing I wanted to say, because I think that's so important. And I think that's why I initially exposed to the world that I have bipolar. And all my music is about how I feel. So a lot of it is about mental illness, and I will be talking about it a lot more when I get back on social media. But that was another reason I wanted to do this as well, because anyone that raises awareness, I'm all for. So that's what I wanted to say whilst I was on here, because
good. No, I'm glad. Yeah, it's funny that you say that though, because that's something I actually want to do. I don't know how the heck I'm gonna do it, but I wish I had that too. I didn't know growing up that me being sad all the time and depressed was like, I didn't know what it. I thought, I always chalked it up to, oh, hormones, puberty, whatever. And it's sad that, like, you know, sometimes most women, like, that's what they use it as an excuse. Like, they're really depressed, like, oh, it's just my time of month, and then you know that's it. And you're like, no, it can't just all be that. I mean, it's, you know, there has to be something going on to trigger that. So especially young girls, they probably just always assume that if they're feeling the way that they're feeling, it must be because of that, not because something's really bugging them. And then with young boys, it's, you know, they want to be tough and seem cool, so then they don't talk about their emotions. But then later on, when they become adults, it's like a really prominent problem. So it's, that's something I definitely want to do. So I'm glad you said that.
I see on social media a lot, like last week, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in the UK, it was like Mental Health Week. I guess it's the same everywhere. And so many people just post like mental health awareness, but no one actually, a lot of people either don't know about it, like, or understand it, because I'm jealous of them. They've never actually experienced, you know, depression or anxiety or any of these things. And they kind of just put the words out there, and it doesn't actually educate anyone. It's just thinking about mental health. Well, what is it? I think if there was more people talking about the ins and outs and actually what it is and how it makes people feel and how you can help people, because actually, like, so my little sister, she's 14, and she's going through stuff. I'll leave out that because I don't want to expose anything that she's going through. But anyway, my mum came and sat with me a few weeks ago when I was having my episode, because I went from being very manic to having a bit of a come down, and I was so unwell, I couldn't be left alone. And my husband was on a course, so he was away for 3 days. So my mum came with me, came and stayed with me for a few days. And then we went into town, and I had a bit of social anxiety. Everyone's kind of coming back into the world after lockdown. Over here in the UK, it's been really restrictive. So lockdown's being eased, and we went into my local town. There were people everywhere, and I just felt very, very uncomfortable. I broke my foot doing handstands as well, because I thought I was invincible, so I was doing handstands. I was on crutches, which I felt very self-conscious about. I thought people were looking at me. So I just felt very like I just wanted to melt into the nothing. I just wanted to like just be dissolved. And then it just made me feel really, really low, really suicidal, very just sudden. I'm not going to wake up. I'm not going to get out of this. And then we were walking down. I was like, oh, Mum, I just need the bathroom. And then she said, oh, do you want me to come with you? And I said, no. And my head, I have this voice in my head. I'm just going to put it out there. And he was like, you can kill yourself in the bathroom. Great, you're going to be on your own for 5 minutes. And I just grabbed my mum. I was like, Mum, you need to come with me. I didn't tell her why. I just said, you're coming with me. And And then basically after that, we were walking down and she kind of just kept, I was obviously not saying anything. I was just a completely deadpan quiet. Just my thoughts were like really dark and just thinking about all these different ways of killing myself. And she was every few seconds going, oh, it's really busy out here, isn't it? Because she didn't know what to say. And then she'd be like, oh, would you like a Starbucks? Or, oh, look at that person over there, they've got a baby. And every time she said something, it just made me feel more and more alone in my head. It made me feel more suicidal, more, oh, I'm not well, I'm not normal. Why can't I just have a normal conversation? Why have I broken my foot? All those stupid thoughts that you have when you feel like that way. But unbeknownst to her, she didn't realize that, and her trying to have a normal conversation was actually making me worse. So I learned from that situation that the people around you need to be educated on how to communicate with you when you feel like that, because even though she's my mum and she's part of my support network, she didn't even know how to communicate to me, which is crazy, really, because that was only a few weeks ago. And then she was telling me that she was in the car with my little sister. So now I'm going to go back to her talking about my little sister. And my mum said, oh, she was trying to like talk to her about her school day and how school was that day. Just like, not interested. It clicked to me. I was like, Mum, that's not how you need to communicate with her. I was explaining to my mum how she should probably communicate to my sister, because I understood it from the other point of view. And I've noticed that becoming really, really self-aware, I'm able to have these conversations and be able to step out of my own body and see it from the other person's point of view. Because obviously my mum was feeling really awkward and didn't know what to say. And I just said to her, what you need to say to the person who is feeling that way is nothing about, don't talk to them about mundane stuff. Don't ask them questions about anything random. You need to focus on the one thing, and that's how they are feeling in that right in a second right now. And just talk about what they're thinking, what they want to do, is there anything they want to say? Just talk about them in that moment, because that will make them feel heard, even if they haven't said anything yet. It will make them feel like important and that you really care. And like if someone listens to this and gets that information because they're the partner of someone who is depressed, or the mother or the father of someone who's depressed, then that will hopefully help them, because it's one of those things you don't really think about. But I thought about it recently. And now my mum knows how to communicate with my sister going forward. That will make her feel better, not worse. And I think it's those education like that, the things like actually how to deal with it rather than mental health. What is anxiety? There's so many different types of anxiety. There's so many different comorbidities of mental illnesses. There's so many different things. Like, I don't just have bipolar. I have paranoia, schizophrenia, like little tiny parts of that because of the voices in my head. I also have anxiety, social anxiety. There's so many different things. And that's not what people talk about. No one really knows about it unless you really go through it yourself. And I think also people that go through it don't really know what's going on.
No, 100%. I've been there. It's I think for a long time, like you articulated it really well. But you've also sparked me. Actually, you've given me some inspiration now, because I tried to do a video of how people with mental health should open up to their loved ones. Like, I did something like that, of like, okay, this is the process to go through, and this is the mentality to have with it. Is not everyone, it's not their job to understand you. It's not their job to really process what's happening. It's just try to convey it the best that you can. And then if you need that, go through a lot with that. But I don't talk about how I would like someone else to respond to me when I'm depressed. Like,
especially because the people that tend to be around you tend to be the people that love you. So of course they want to make you feel better. It's like if the person you love is not well, you don't want to just walk away, but okay, see you later. You want to try and fix it, don't you? So it's really hard. I think that's a really interesting way to look at this is what can you do as a person for someone with a mental illness? I think that's a good conversation to open, because like you said, there's so many people, especially a lot of men, because of the way society is, they don't want to own up. They want to just kind of keep going. I'm a man, I can do this. And actually, it would be so great if all the responsibility wasn't on them. If people in society had the the education and the ability to open the key to their thoughts instead, like have that two-way interaction. Because the other thing that I hate is when people go, hi, how are you? Because when people ask me how I am, I go, yeah, I'm fine, because I don't want to make the other person feel awkward. I don't want to make them feel like a bird, like I'm uncomfortable. And every time I say, yeah, I'm fine, it makes me feel 10 times worse. And I wish that was like something that we could just erase from society, because it's so, like, everyone says it. And I feel like it's one of the worst things for me personally. People say, hey, how are you? And you just feel like you have to lie. And that just makes you feel, I don't know if you feel the same. Do you feel like that?
No, all the time. Yeah, it sucks, because like in certain settings, like you want to be able to express how you feel in a way that's not going to put the other person in an uncomfortable position. Whereas like if it was my mom, and like, say I come home, my mom's like, Sabby, how's your day? I'm like, Mom is absolute shit. I feel like this is, then I would have, said that. But it's just such a weird, it's weird. Like in life, you have to unfortunately pick and choose who you open up to. And I don't like that. I wished you could just be, transparent 24/7, because that's just the type of person I am. I'm very, very brutally honest and like no nonsense, but like I have compassion. I'm not an asshole.
I feel like we're exactly the same, because I'm like that. And sometimes I feel like people think I have no empathy, because I'm very like matter of fact about things, and I don't have time for people that aren't going to benefit my life. Like that. And people find sometimes that they call me a bit of a bitch, but I don't think I am. I just think I know what I want, and I know how to help myself. And it's even more important when you like have a mental illness, or you deal with mental health. It's so much more important to be like that. But the funniest thing is, like, I think like when I'm high, especially when I have I give no, like whatever, I'm going to say what I want to say. I remember I was at university, and it was after I did the show, and obviously I was going into university, so you can imagine like other students would be like, oh, it's Trudy Ford, she's on the TV show. It was weird around me. And then
it sucks.
People would be like, how are you? And I'd be like, fuck off, I'm not fine at all. Like I don't know what it was. I was really I wasn't really that rude, but I got into this period of time where people go, oh my god, hey, how are you? And I'd be like, actually, I'm not doing really well, I feel really suicidal, and I kind of want to die. And they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll see you later then. And I just got through this. I went through this phase of being like so mischievous. I was like a teenager at age 23 of being
that sounds like me.
I don't care about anyone. If you're going to ask me how I am, I'm going to tell you how I feel.
But I respect it, because like at least like you were saying it, know. But yeah, I was like that when I was a kid. I was like that 100%. I was a weird kid. If there's anyone out there that's listened to this and has resonated with anything you've gone through, what you've said, what would be the advice you would give them, or what would you want to say to them?
I think always be true to yourself, even if that's scary, because that's the most important thing. Being authentic is how you're going to survive. So that's like the biggest piece of advice I'd give anyone. Try not to have anyone in your life that's hurting you or bringing you down, because that's not going to help you in the long run. Put yourself first. So just plan your day around making sure that you're well, like do things every single day. So make sure you get out of bed, set an alarm, get up in the morning. Don't get up in the afternoon, get up in the morning. Have a shower, brush your teeth, have some breakfast, good breakfast, like porridge or a smoothie, good food. Go to the gym, go for a walk, get outside, get some vitamin D, read books, and find things that you enjoy. And also like appreciate the little things that you do for yourself. And if you're having a down day, for example, if you don't feel very energetic, you maybe feel low, you feel anxious or whatever, celebrate the small wins. So if you get up, brush your teeth and have a shower, you did well that day. Like that's good enough. That's really, really good. Because I struggle with that as well. Like for me, it took me a long time to get to that place where I can say the day was good.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I enjoy hearing your whole journey and everything. So
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really great to talk to you and really great to meet you properly. Everyone who's listening can find me on social medias. I'm not very active on there at the moment, but I will be. You need to follow me on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, YouTube. I'm actually on TikTok as well. It's embarrassing,
really?
but I am. Yes, I am. All truly Ford. I'm just simple like that. But yeah, follow me because it's going to be exciting this year. You're going to hear some original music. It's going to be about mental health and it's going to be really exciting. So join me.
Thank you so much for listening. And remember, you have to go through the eye of the storm to see the clear horizon ahead. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next week.